I may be the lone wolf when it pertains to this particular subject matter, but I feel like I have to speak on this as a lifelong Golden State Warrior fans. Trust me, I'm a Golden State Warrior fan through and through. I've been a fan since the World Be Free days. J.B. Carroll, Bernard King, Sleepy Floyd, Previs Short, those guys. I'm talking about in the early 80s. You know, I barely remember when Robert Parrish was traded from the Golden State Warriors to the Boston Celtics for the Warriors to draft J.B. Carroll. So I remember when the Warriors were god-awful before they renovated the Oakland Arena when it was just called the Oakland Arena. So I remember everything. So, you know, with that being said, I wanted to just talk about this situation that's just going on with Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga, as Jonathan Kuminga demands a trade from the Golden State Warriors. You know, the Warriors, when the season began, the Warriors started off hot. And, you know, now they've simmered down dramatically. You know, and I don't know what's going on with Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga, but I don't like what's going on. I feel to a certain degree, you know, Steve Kerr is disingenuous. I feel to a certain degree, I feel like he's a snake behind the cameras. You know, when the cameras are off behind the scenes, I think he's a snake. And that's just real talk. I know he tries to act like he's just politically correct and cares about everything. Yeah, he puts on a song and dance, you know, for the cameras. And a lot of people are like that. But I really feel behind the scenes, I feel like he's trying to mentally wreck Jonathan Kuminga like he did, you know, like he did James Wiseman. James Wiseman had potential to be a great player, and Steve Kerr just pretty much, he didn't want him to begin in the first place, but he intentionally, you know, tried to take away his confidence, in which I think he really did. And now, who knows where James Wiseman is, you know, and that's just real talk. And I feel that there's something going on with him and Jonathan Kuminga. Jonathan Kuminga don't look like he's a difficult person to coach. And I just think he's trying to basically, you know, slander him without slandering him. Because, you know, he didn't get any play today. He hasn't been playing in a while. And he's healthy. Now, of course, people are going to automatically side with Steve Kerr because, one, he's the coach, and the other because he's white, or one, because he's white, and two, because he's the coach. And I'm going to tell you right now, I can tell you from up-close experience that it ain't always the player. A lot of times, it's the coach. And the funny thing is, I'm going to tell you something, and it's related to this story. And let me tell you how close to home it hits. I'm about to talk about Don Nelson. You know, because of Don Nelson's ego, and because of him having this, you know, fix it when it don't need to even be fixed, he's the reason why he's never won a championship. Not because he didn't have the personnel. It's because of him just tweaking stuff, messing with stuff. You know, he's the reason why the Golden State Warriors never won a championship. When he had championship caliber teams, championship caliber players, and we all know that he snaked George Karl, you know, basically out of the head coach position. He came in to be the general manager, and then he fired him. Then a few years later, he gives up on Ron TMC, and basically trades Mitch Richmond for basically beer, pizza, and gummy bears. Then they rebuild again. They have another potential championship team with Chris Webber, Latrell Sprewell, and then, you know, Tim Hardaway. I think he was hurt, but if you get Tim Hardaway back, you still could make a run. And he ruined that because he couldn't get along with Chris Webber, because Chris Webber was well within his right, and he kept trying to tell Don Nelson, hey, I ain't no center. I don't want to play center. And then he trades Chris Webber, and then he basically has people believing that Chris Webber is a dude that's uncoachable, he has a bad attitude and all that kind of stuff. And then you really heard nothing bad about, that was said about Chris Webber as a teammate, because come to find out, Don Nelson admitted that it was him and it was his ego. So what I'm saying about Steve Kerr, something ain't right about this dude. And I'm just one of the people that will just say it. I'm not a fan of Steve Kerr whatsoever. It's just something about him that rubs me the wrong way. And I'm just keeping it 100. It's just something about this dude, and this Jonathan Kuminga thing is just giving me too many flashbacks. It's not as bad, but it's giving me the flashbacks of Don Nelson. Yes, Steve Kerr has won championships. That's real talk. But that still doesn't take away the fact that he just comes across as prickly behind the scenes. Now, of course, Stephen Curry, he's always tried to be politically correct. He's not going to say nothing bad about anybody. And that's fine. At the end of the day, he got to make his money. He got, he got like 5 kids now, 4 or 5 kids. So, got to feed his family. And he got his own problems. He got his own problems behind the scenes. So, with that being said, I just wanted to put that out there. I just really think something is really prickly and snakely about, Steve Kerr. But I hope for the best for Jonathan Kuminga. I hope he goes somewhere and he flourishes. He just gonna have to remove himself from the Golden State Warriors. I do not believe Jonathan Kuminga is a bad dude. I don't believe he's uncoachable. But then, a lot of times, especially with the media, mainstream media, they're gonna always, for the most part, make it look like it's the player, and for obvious reasons. And don't get mad, because I'm the type of guy that'll go there. I don't give a fuck about you. Oh, there you go playing a race car. So fucking what? This is my channel. You don't like what I have to say? Kick rocks. So, there you have it. But I just wanted to put that out there. This your boy Town Biz. I'm out.